G'day, ZiggyD here, back with some more Path of Exile. Today, guys, we're going to do it. We're going to have a meta discussion on hardcore versus softcore. Yes, we're actually going to do this. So let's get this out in the open to begin with. I think it is utterly ridiculous and pointless and even damaging to our communities that we play in Path of Exile and in other games, that we feel the need to divide ourselves. This is a trait of humanity that is particularly common, I will admit. It doesn't make much sense to me, but it does happen a lot. And that is that no matter how small the community we're in, no matter the shared passions we have, no matter the awesomeness of the overall community, we still feel the need to divide ourselves up as much as possible. I bet you, if you put 5 people together in a room and said that they were the only people that they were going to have any contact about, and they're all really cool people, they would still find a way to divide themselves into 2 different groups. So that can happen on a very small scale, but it also happens in gaming communities quite a bit as well. Now I also think, to get this out in the open as well, that it is probably one of the most embarrassing things in the world to witness. Someone putting someone else down in order to make themselves feel better, or like a more distinguished human being. And this is also kind of ties hand in hand with the previous topic. You see this a lot from both hardcore and softcore players, actually, where players will put down players from another group in order to make themselves feel like a better player, or, you know, by virtue of lowering other people down, you are, you know, higher than them in terms of some arbitrary scale. It's embarrassing to see that sort of thing happen, and yet it happens quite a lot. So by this point, I have no doubt probably lost quite a few people that consider either of those previous things to be good or not a problem. But for those of you guys who might have stuck around and kind of still feel that, I encourage you guys to have a bit of an open mind and maybe listen to the rest of this video. So I'm a Path of Exile player who's actually spent probably about 50% of my time in hardcore and softcore. We did work this out on stream the other day, that I've actually played basically alternating leagues without even realizing it. And I've played hardcore 1-week races, I've played softcore 1-week races, I've played various different hardcore and softcore challenge leagues, and I've even played both of the original leagues as well, the default standard and hardcore leagues. Now, I will be honest, I do overall, personally, enjoy hardcore more in Path of Exile. I can gain quite a bit of enjoyment out of either league that I play. I'm currently playing the Softcore Challenge League and having an immense amount of fun with the game. And I also feel that I learned things from playing both leagues that I wouldn't have been able to learn if I stuck in just the other league. You learn some lessons in hardcore the hardest way possible by losing a character and losing hundreds of hours of progress, and that can really nail or drive home a particular lesson, like for example, not flame blasting a box that has rare mobs in it. I learned that lesson pretty well in hardcore. And then in standard or in softcore leagues, I also learned some other lessons, such as how far and how hard I can push a character, way harder and way further than I have been previously. I recently did Merciless Piety with less than 2000 HP and way undercapped resistances. Usually the defensive stats that I would have doing Cruel Dominus in hardcore, I managed to do Piety and Merciless without a death, and kind of surprised myself at how far you can push a character with limited stats in the game with good mechanics. That wouldn't have been a lesson I would have learned in hardcore, so I learned quite a bit from either game leagues, and I can enjoy both. There are tons of different endgames and ways of enjoying Path of Exile. There's some players that like to try and perfect a character, working on getting the most perfect of ultimate, upper echelon, dream-only gear. And then there are other players that like to level as many different characters as they can, and try as many different builds as possible. There are people that enjoy mapping, there are people that even only play in normal difficulty, there are people that enjoy racing, and there are people that enjoy the thrill of a brush with losing hundreds of hours of progress. All of these different endgames and different ways of enjoying the game are all just as legit as each other in my mind. Path of Exile is an immensely complex game, an immensely challenging game, and an immensely satisfying game, no matter which league you play it in, and no matter which way or which endgame you approach. Now, being a YouTuber and live streamer and being in contact with hundreds of different players of Path of Exile, I've unfortunately come to witness some pretty sad events. On more than one occasion, I've gotten messages or comments or had discussions with people that have stopped playing Path of Exile, and there's been a sort of a common theme for a lot of different people. and that is that they felt like they couldn't play the way they wanted to play. One such example was a player who really wanted to play Path of Exile, loved the game overall. However, they felt that if they weren't playing Hardcore League, then it wasn't worth playing at all. They saw, the majority of streamers playing Hardcore, and then they felt that if they didn't play Hardcore themselves, that other players wouldn't, take them seriously or wouldn't listen to them if they said anything on forums or on Reddit or anything like that. Now, this player actually stopped playing. They felt that it was such a real thing, such a real feeling that their way of enjoying the game wasn't legit enough, that they actually just, I'm done. I don't want to have to deal with this feeling. So they went and played another game and stopped playing Path of Exile, despite really wanting to play the game, not being able to feel like they could play the way they wanted to play. That sort of thing is probably one of the most depressing things that I've ever heard, because Path of Exile is such an amazing game. And, you could say this person was particularly sensitive, but this has happened on many occasions for many different people. And that you can't deny that feeling is definitely there for a lot of people. Now, this is not just hardcore players putting down softcore players thing either. It does go both ways. I'm sure many of you guys have heard the term Alt F4 core or other similar things before as well. The reality is that there's many different ways of enjoying Path of Exile. There is many different people with many different backgrounds, different play styles, and different real-life scenarios as well. Some people don't have enough time to dedicate. Some people don't enjoy the loss of a lot of progression. Other people really do enjoy those brush with deaths. Some people are masochists and love losing their characters. In the end, dividing ourselves up and putting other players down to make ourselves feel better doesn't help the community or game grow at all. It does the opposite, in fact. It drives people away. I would hope that if you do feel like another player isn't playing to your standards, that the very least you can do is keep such things to yourself. Try to be a person that distinguishes yourself based on your own merits, rather than drawing attention to any negatives you see in other people. We have in Path of Exile an amazing, incredible game with an awesome community overall, and I want to see this community, and I want to see this game grow, and I want to see new ways of enjoying the game added to the game and respected by the player base. In the recent season, we've had a new PvP tournament system added. This is just another way to enjoy the game. So I don't know if this is going to convince any of you guys. Maybe it'll convince one or two people and I'll be happy. But maybe just consider celebrating instead of putting people down, celebrating your shared passion for such an amazing game that is Path of Exile. I think that if we can drive down these elitist feelings within the community and remove these arbitrary and frankly ridiculous divisions of players, then we can have a massive, massive game in the future. I hope you guys are with me on this, and I hope you found this discussion interesting. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.